Ever found yourself wondering how that small device in your hand, your TV remote, works its magic? It's a staple in our homes, an extension of our hands, and a tool we use daily without much thought. The TV remote, once a wired, bulky device, has seamlessly evolved into a sleek, wireless wand. It's become so integral to our lives that navigating our entertainment world without it seems unthinkable. The history of TV remotes is a fascinating journey, from the early days of cumbersome wired remotes to the modern era of wireless ones. It's a story of continuous innovation and technological advancement. These seemingly simple devices have transformed the way we consume media, making it more interactive and convenient. A wireless TV remote might just seem like a small box with buttons, but it's much more than that. It's a magic wand that controls our entertainment world. Now, let's unravel the mystery behind the working of these wireless TV remotes. To understand how TV remotes function, we first need to understand their basic operation. At the heart of any remote, there are two main components: the buttons you press with your fingers and the circuit board tucked away within the remote's shell. The buttons are the initial point of contact, the interface between you and your television. Each button is assigned a specific function, whether it's changing the channel, adjusting the volume, or powering your TV on and off. When you press a button, you're essentially giving a command. But how does this command get processed? Well, that's where the circuit board comes in. Underneath each button is a thin layer of conductive material. When you press down on a button, this material makes contact with the circuit board. This creates a circuit or a path for electricity to flow. Now imagine the circuit board as a small city with various paths or streets etched onto its surface. When you create a circuit by pressing a button, you're sending a rush of electricity down one of these paths. This electrical impulse travels at the speed of light, reaching the microcontroller, a tiny but powerful computer chip, in a fraction of a second. The microcontroller is the brain of the operation. It reads this electrical impulse, recognizes the specific command associated with it, and then prepares to send this command to your TV. It does this by converting the command into an infrared signal, a type of light that's invisible to the human eye but can be detected by your TV. But how does this signal get from the remote to the TV? That's where the real magic begins. Invisible to the human eye, yet essential for the remote to work, are infrared signals. Imagine these signals as a secret language that only your TV and its remote understand, allowing them to communicate in a way no one else can see. The heart of this communication is the infrared light, which is just beyond the spectrum of light that our eyes can detect. Every time you press a button on your remote, an LED at the front of the remote flashes with this infrared light. It's like Morse code, but instead of dots and dashes, it uses pulses of light. Now let's delve a bit deeper into this technology. Each button on your remote corresponds to a specific infrared signal. For instance, when you press the volume up button, the remote sends out a unique pattern of infrared light pulses. This pattern is different from the one sent out when you press channel down or power. At this point, you might be wondering, how does the remote know which pattern to send for each button? Well, it's all pre-programmed. Each button is linked to a specific pattern in the remote's memory. When you press the button, it tells the remote to send that pattern of light pulses. So in essence, your remote is a flashlight that speaks a language of light. But instead of illuminating your path, it's sending out coded messages that your TV can understand. The beauty of this system is that it's incredibly fast. The time it takes from when you press a button to when your TV responds is virtually instantaneous, and all of this happens without us even being aware of it. We've now explored the hidden world of infrared signals and how your TV remote uses them to communicate with your television. It's a world unseen by our eyes, but crucial to our everyday entertainment. Now we know how the remote communicates with the TV, but how does the TV understand what these signals mean? The TV, like a skilled linguist, is able to interpret the language of infrared or IR signals. Now let's delve into the process of how our television deciphers these invisible signals. When you press a button on your remote, it's not just sending a random signal. Oh no, it's much more intricate than that. Each button on your remote corresponds to a unique IR signal, similar to how each word in our language represents a distinct idea or object. Imagine for a moment, the remote is a poet, crafting a beautiful sonnet of invisible signals. Each verse, each line, each word represents a unique command, a specific function on your television. Whether it's changing the channel, adjusting the volume, or accessing the menu, the remote has a unique verse for each command. So how does the TV understand this poetry of signals? It's simple. The TV is equipped with an IR sensor, a device that waits patiently, ready to receive the signals from the remote. Once a signal is received, the sensor examines it, scrutinizing every little detail. The sensor then translates this signal into an electrical impulse. This impulse is then sent to the TV's central processing unit, or CPU. The CPU is like the brain of the television, making sense of the impulses it receives. It matches each impulse to a specific function, just like how we match words to meanings in our language. Once the CPU has identified the function, it sends a command to the relevant part of the TV, be it the volume control, channel selector, or menu interface. The TV then springs into action, executing the command it received, and voila! Your command has been carried out, all in the blink of an eye. The magic doesn't stop there, though. This process repeats every time you press a button on your remote, ensuring that your TV responds precisely to your commands. It's a dance of signals and responses, happening so fast that it seems instantaneous. So the remote sends the signal and the TV decodes it. But is there more to it? Just as we speak different languages, so too do different remotes. Each brand and model of television has its own unique way of communicating with its remote. This language, if you will, is a series of specific infrared signals that are exchanged between the remote and the television. Think of it like this. Just as French speakers and English speakers use different words for the same thing, so too do different brands of televisions. A Sony television, for example, might use a certain signal to mean volume up, while a Samsung television might use a completely different signal for the same command. This is why a remote for one TV often won't work with another. The language that the remote is speaking isn't understood by the television. It's like trying to order a croissant in a bakery in Paris using only Mandarin. The baker just isn't going to understand what you're asking for. But what's really fascinating is that while these languages may be different, they all follow a similar structure. Each command, whether it's volume up, channel down, or power on, is sent as a series of pulses. The length and spacing of these pulses is what determines the command being sent. So for example, a short pulse followed by a long pulse might mean volume up, while a long pulse followed by a short pulse might mean channel down. It's a bit like Morse code, with different combinations of long and short pulses, representing different commands. And just as there are regional accents and dialects in human languages, there can be slight variations in these remote languages between different models of the same brand. This is why sometimes a remote for one Samsung TV might not work perfectly with another Samsung TV. In essence, every time you press a button on your remote, you're engaging in a complex conversation with your television, a conversation that's happening at the speed of light and is completely invisible to the naked eye. So next time you reach for your remote, remember the invisible conversation it's having with your TV. To sum up, the magic wand in your hand is quite a sophisticated piece of technology. It's fascinating to think that every time you press a button on your remote, a sequence of events is set into motion. Your button press activates a specific circuit on the remote's internal circuit board. This circuit then generates a unique infrared signal, invisible to the naked eye, but as real as the light we see. This signal is sent through the air, racing towards your television at the speed of light. Upon reaching your television, this infrared signal is captured by the TV's infrared sensor. The sensor then decodes this signal, translating it into a command that the television understands. Whether it's changing the volume, switching channels, or playing your favorite show, each command is a result of this intricate dance between your remote and your television. So there you have it, the mystery of your TV remote.